Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, your nameless host, coming at you with another podcast. Today, I just wanted to talk about some things I learned about the Israeli Iran United States conflict. Now, this is something that fascinated me because I didn't know that this is how things worked. So, get this: Israel has this thing that they call the Iron Dome, right? And this was a missile defense network that was meant to counteract other missiles and blow them up. Now, this was initially a very good idea until it was revealed how much it costs for a single missile to diverge a target. The cheapest one you can fire is called the Tamir, and that's $50,000. So to defer a $2,000 rocket that Iran launched, you are launching $50,000 to deflect it. Now, that's assuming that the thing makes contact with its target and actually destroys the rocket. It's entirely possible that it can miss because physics is a reality also. So this is what they tell me. There's like three levels to this Iron Dome. There's the Tamir at 50,000, and then David's Sling at 1 million, and then the big one, which is like 8 million. So the big one, they haven't fired any of those yet, but I think they fired a lot of Tamirs, and the Tamirs are 50K a pop. Now here's the math: how it bounces out on Iran's side. Iran has about like a $2,000 rocket that they can fire, and then a Tamir, which is $50,000, will intercept it. And then when they're reloading the battery for the next Tamir to shoot down the next one, they launch a cluster bomb. So for people not versed in warfare or aren't armchair generals like me, I'll explain what that does. Okay, so you have this defense system that will launch one to one and destroy one to one a target. But if you do that and then it hits something cheap, something very explosive happens with the money. And that is that when they're refilling the batteries to get the next one to fire for the next target, they launch a cluster bomb, and then that cluster bomb turns one missile into 20, and then that's exactly what happens is that they fill this gap in the window where they're trying to refill the battery of the Iron Dome with another Tamir, and then when in between that window, they launch a cluster bomb. That's why Tel Aviv looks like it does today. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Tel Aviv looks pretty messed up. It's like it looks like a Call of Duty multiplayer map. I'm not even like that's not a joke. It's an apt comparison because Call of Duty always dealt with like Middle East conflicts, and this is the Middle East conflict. They're gonna be making Call of Duties about this forever if society survives. But that's how the math shakes out, ladies and gentlemen, is that Israel is launching $50,000 to potentially a million every time they're trying to defuse a rocket that is $10,000 to $30,000. And then whenever they're refueling that battery to recharge the Tamirs, uh, they're they're just going to launch cluster bombs. It's a crazy strategy when you really look at it because it's pretty brilliant. The way the United States is trying to saturate the Tehran doesn't really matter. You can kill as many people in Tehran as you want, civilians, military, or otherwise. It's not going to affect anything because the Iranian military structure is completely decentralized. There's like 31 provinces of Iran that all operate basically independently. They work together as a single quote unquote national army, but they're not a single structure like how they are in the United States. So even if you kill a general of one of these military structures, there's like three guys who can take his place and will with orders. And then you are just dealing with another general. Like, what are you going to do? You have to literally destroy the entire army down to the last man who has been given the orders to fight to the death. Good luck. I mean, I'm not going to say that like Iran has this in the bag, but just as an armchair general, they've come up with a hell of a strategy. I mean, because when you launch in that little gap of the window where the Iron Dome is refilling its battery, and then you launch a cluster strike, that just makes sense because then it's like, oh, launch the nuke to get the cluster strike. Oh, boo. It just that's kind of brilliant if you look at it from a military strategy perspective. of basically using a bunch of cheap stuff and launching that so that they have to basically. I think what I've heard is that the IDF is now choosing what targets they're going to actually shoot down over Tel Aviv. So if it's not a like a mission critical structure, something they need standing, then they're gonna let that thing hit. I just want everybody to think about that. Like Israelis, I know we've had our beef in the past. Let's put our grievances in the past, man. I don't hate anybody enough to think that innocent people deserve to die. I'm not that kind of monster. Let's put our grievances in the past. But like, Israelis, just seriously think about that, man. Your government is saying, sorry, but if you're not in the zone where you're in a mission critical structure, we're going to let that rocket through. And that's what's going to happen. This is going to be a wild thing to watch, ladies and gentlemen. I pray for the world. I pray for some kind of peace. May Jesus Christ or somebody come and save us. Buddha, I don't know. That's what I think, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be watching it unfold. I'll be coming at you with more updates as I get them. And that's basically what, if I had to too long didn't read it, the too long didn't read is that militarily, Iran has figured out a way to bleed the pocketbook of Israel and the United States by basically making them expend their massive quantities of very expensive missiles to shoot down some very cheap missiles that didn't cost Iran very much at all. That's wild. War of attrition, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a wild thing to watch. Stay safe. And you know what? Nobody innocent deserves to die for what their government thinks or does. Okay? I think we can all agree to that. Nobody innocent deserves to die. Rest in peace, victims of the fallen. Peace, literally.